The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched high above the gathered representatives. Thousands of species from across the stars sat in their designated sections. Lights from distant suns filtered through the massive dome overhead. Ambassador Park stood at the human podium, her hands gripping the edges as she looked out at the sea of alien faces. Beside her, Admiral stood in his crisp uniform. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes were sharp. He watched every movement in the chamber. The humans had been part of this council for 50 years now. 50 years of following rules. 50 years of being treated like children. Spoke clearly into the translator device. Her words echoed through the hall in 1,000 different languages. 3 weeks ago, the Empire attacked our mining station at Epsilon 7. 240 humans died. They gave no warning. They offered no explanation. She brought up holographic images. The destroyed station floated in pieces against the black of space. Bodies drifted among the wreckage. Some of the alien representatives looked away. Others showed no reaction at all. This is the third attack in 6 months, continued. We have followed every protocol. We have filed every complaint. We have asked for intervention, and yet nothing has been done. Counselor rose from the section. He was tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 10,000 years. He looked at with something like amusement in his 3 eyes. The human speaks of protocols, said, his voice smooth and cold, but fails to mention that these stations were in disputed territory, space that the Empire has claimed for centuries before your species even left your primitive planet. Murmurs spread through the chamber, felt her jaw tighten. Those colonies were established legally. The Council approved them. We have the documents. Documents from 50 years ago, interrupted. When the Council took pity on your species and allowed you to join, perhaps that was a mistake. You humans are emotional creatures. You see insults where none exist. You claim victimhood when you simply lack strength. More murmurs. Some species chittered in what might have been laughter. Admiral took a step forward. His movement was controlled, but there was something in it that made several nearby aliens shift uncomfortably. Strength said quietly. His voice was calm, but it carried through the hall. You speak of strength, Counselor. Turned his attention to the Admiral. Yes, the Empire has strength, military might that has kept peace in our sectors for your species has. What? A few dozen warships, mining vessels with weapons attached. We have restraint, replied. We have followed the Galactic Peace Accords to the letter. We have limited our military to approved sizes. We have used only approved weapons. We have kept to the rules because we believed in this council's purpose. How noble, said, and now there was clear mockery in his tone. The humans restrain themselves, or perhaps you simply lack the capability to do otherwise. High Magistrate raised one of his many appendages. He was old, even by galactic standards. His species lived for thousands of years, and he had led the council for half that time. Counselor, please, let us maintain decorum. But was not finished. He descended from his platform and walked toward the human section. I have studied your species, Ambassador Park. Admiral, I have read your history. Your world is young, your civilization even younger. You have been in space for barely 200 of your years, and you dare to stand before this council and demand that we take action against the Empire. Kept her voice level. We demand only what the council promises all member species: protection, justice, peace. Then perhaps you should not have expanded so aggressively into territories you cannot defend, said. He turned to address the entire council. I propose we grant the Empire full jurisdiction over all disputed territories in the Outer Rim. Let the humans learn the consequences of their overreach. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species supported the proposal. Others were silent. None spoke in humanity's defense. Felt something cold settle in her stomach. She looked at who gave the smallest shake of his head. High Magistrate called for order. This is a matter that requires deliberation. We will. With respect, magistrate interrupted. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. The chamber fell silent. Interrupting the high magistrate was almost never done. Stepped forward until he stood at the very edge of the human platform. Before this council makes its decision, I want to ensure something is clearly understood. Humanity has operated under strict limitations since joining this body. We agreed to restrictions on our military size. We agreed to limitations on weapons development. We agreed to rules of engagement that we have never violated. He paused, looking slowly across the chamber. His gaze seemed to find every representative, every species, every set of eyes. We did this because we wanted peace, because we believed in coexistence, because we thought we could be part of something greater than ourselves. His voice grew quieter but somehow more intense. But we also did this because we knew what we were capable of. We knew what we could become if we removed those limitations. We held back because we chose to, not because we had to. Laughed, it was a harsh, barking sound. Threats now, from the species that runs from every confrontation. You held back nothing, you simply have nothing to hold back. Turned to look at the counselor. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he spoke, and his words were soft, almost gentle. For 50 years we have been peaceful. For 50 years we have followed every rule. For 50 years we have restrained ourselves. He paused. Do not mistake our peace for weakness. Do not mistake our restraint for inability. Do not mistake our warnings for empty words. The chamber was completely silent now. Something in the Admiral's tone had changed. Something that made even the ancient species in the council chambers feel a flicker of something they had not felt in. Unease. Stepped forward to stand beside. She looked up at High Magistrate. The human delegation requests a formal response to our petition within 7 days. If the Council cannot or will not provide protection for human colonies, we will have no choice but to provide that protection ourselves. You threaten to violate the peace accords, asked. We threaten nothing, said. We warn there is a difference. We have warned the Empire. We have warned this Council. Remember that. When the time comes, remember that we warned you. She turned and walked from the chamber. Behind them, the council erupted into chaos. His voice rose above the others, demanding sanctions against humanity, but did not look back. They walked through the long corridors of the council station in silence. Finally, as they reached their ship, spoke. They will not listen. I know, said quietly. They will attack again. I know. Looked out at the stars beyond the viewport. Then we prepare for war. 3 days later, the Empire launched a full assault on the human colony world of Nu. They sent 50 warships. They sent 10,000 soldiers. They expected an easy victory. They expected humans to run. They were wrong. Commander Lee watched the fleet approach on his screens. 50 warships, against one colony with minimal defenses. The numbers were impossible, but did not order evacuation. Not yet. Get the civilians to the bunkers, he said calmly. Everyone who can hold a weapon, report to distribution centers. Send the children and elderly to the deep shelters. His second officer looked at him with wide eyes. Sir, we should evacuate. We have transport ships ready. We can get most people out before they arrive. And go where? Asked. They will just follow. They will hunt us down in space where we have no cover, no defense. No, we make our stand here. The officer swallowed hard. Yes, sir. Nu was a mining colony. 20,000 people lived there, working the rich mineral deposits in the planet's crust. It had basic defensive shields and a few outdated weapons platforms. Nothing that could stop a war fleet. Knew this. Everyone knew this. But he also knew something else. He knew what humans were capable of when cornered. The ships entered orbit. War Prince sat on his command throne and looked down at the planet below. It was a pleasant world, blue and green with small oceans. The humans had built their colony in the southern continent. He could see the cities from orbit. Small things, fragile things. Send the surrender demand, ordered. The communication went out. It was standard. The humans had 1 hour to evacuate or face bombardment. The colony would be destroyed as a lesson, as a message. This is what happens when you challenge the Empire. Expected begging. He expected pleas for mercy. Instead, the response was simple, just 2 words from Commander Lee. Come down. Felt something strange. Confusion, perhaps, or was it something else? He shook it off. Begin landing operations. Capture the colony commander. I want him alive. 10,000 soldiers descended in drop ships. They landed in the colony's main square. The streets were empty. No civilians running in panic. No soldiers lined up in formation. Just empty buildings and silence. The first squad moved into a residential building. They found nothing on the ground floor, nothing on the second. When they reached the third floor, the walls exploded. Charges hidden in the structure detonated. The building collapsed, taking the entire squad with it. Across the colony, the same thing happened. Buildings became death traps. Streets became kill zones. Every corner held an ambush. The humans did not fight in organized formations. They fought from shadows. They fought from rooftops. They fought from underground tunnels that they had dug in secret. A lieutenant reported back to, "Sir, we are taking heavy casualties. The humans are not fighting like soldiers. They are fighting like animals, like predators." Felt that strange sensation again. Push forward. They cannot hold forever. But the humans did hold, for hours, then days, coordinated the defense from a hidden command center deep underground. He moved his people like pieces on a board, hit and run, strike and vanish, make them pay for every meter. Above the planet, Captain brought her ship out of faster-than-light travel. The EDS was one of Earth's warships, sleek and deadly. She looked at the fleet in orbit and smiled coldly. "All hands to battle stations," she said. "Load all weapons, prepare to engage." Her weapons officer hesitated. "Captain, we are 1 ship against 50. "I am aware," said. "Attack pattern Delta, target their command vessel." The dove toward the fleet, saw it coming and almost laughed. 1 human ship. What could it possibly do? He learned quickly. The moved faster than any ship he had ever seen. It dodged fire that should have hit. It attacked from angles that made no tactical sense, and its weapons hit harder than anything its size should carry. "That ship is using band weapons," sensor officer shouted. "Plasma accelerators, kinetic missiles, those are not council approved." Heard their transmissions. Her smile widened. "Did you think we would keep playing by rules you already broke? Fire all weapons." The tore through 3 ships before they even properly responded. It was not enough to win, not against 50 ships, but it was enough to distract them, enough to make them pull forces from the ground, enough to give and his people more time. On Earth, in a secure laboratory, Dr. Song sat surrounded by holographic displays. She had been studying combat footage from new, frame by frame. She watched how humans fought, how they moved, how they killed. Then she pulled up files on other species. She studied their combat doctrines, their tactics, their psychology, and slowly she began to understand something terrible. Every other species in the Galactic Council had evolved on relatively safe worlds. They were prey species who learned cooperation, or they were herd animals who learned strength in numbers, or they were peaceful herbivores who learned diplomacy. None of them were apex predators. None of them had evolved through constant warfare and hunting. Except humans. Earth was a death world by galactic standards, predators on every continent, diseases that killed millions, natural disasters that wiped out civilizations. Humans had survived by being tougher, smarter, and more vicious than everything trying to kill them. They had evolved not just to survive, but to hunt, to track, to kill. For thousands of years, humans had warred with each other. They had developed strategies and weapons and tactics refined through endless conflict. And when they finally reached the stars, they had brought all of that with them. They had just hidden it, restrained it, held it back. Sent her report to Earth Defense Command. The reply came back immediately. A single message to all human forces across the galaxy. Restrictions lifted. Execute Protocol Nemesis. Anu received the message. He closed his eyes for a moment. They had fought for 3 days with limited weapons and defensive tactics. They had lost hundreds of people, but they had also killed thousands of, and now the restraints were off. He opened a secure channel. Activate the weapon caches, distribute the military-grade equipment, release the combat drugs, execute Protocol Nemesis. Across the colony, hidden doors opened. Weapons that had been smuggled in and stored for years came out. Real weapons, plasma rifles, genetic enhancers, combat suits, things that the Galactic Council had banned centuries ago as too brutal for civilized warfare. They were not ready for what happened next. The humans became faster, stronger, more aggressive. They stopped defending and started hunting. Squads of soldiers found themselves the prey instead of the predators. They ran. They panicked. They died. In orbit, received the same message. She looked at her crew. Most of them were young. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. Trained for the moment when humanity stopped pretending to be civilized. Disengage from the fleet, she ordered. Set course for the rally point. We have new orders. What kind of orders? Her first officer asked. Pulled up the tactical display. It showed dozens of human ships converging from across the sector, not the small defensive fleet the Council knew about. Real warships, battle cruisers, carriers, things that had been built in secret shipyards far from prying eyes. The kind that end wars, she said quietly. Anu stood in the ruins of what had been his forward command post. Bodies of his soldiers lay everywhere. The humans had overrun his position in minutes. He had barely escaped with his life. Around him, his once proud army was in full retreat. He sent an emergency transmission to the request immediate reinforcement, the humans. They are not what we thought. They are not weak. They are not afraid. They are. He struggled to find the words. They are monsters. Back on Earth in the Council of Defense, Admiral stood before the holographic map of human space. Red markers showed positions. Blue markers showed human forces. The blue markers were moving now. All of them, converging on territory. President Shin stood beside him. Are we really doing this? Nodded slowly. They chose this. We warned them. They did not listen. The galaxy will never forgive us. Perhaps, said, but they will remember us. They will remember that humanity gave them a chance at peace, and they will remember what happened when that offer was refused. He activated the fleet-wide communication. His face appeared on screens across 100 ships. Thousands of soldiers and sailors looked at their admiral, waiting, ready. For 50 years, said, we have fought with one hand tied behind our backs. We have held back our strength. We have restrained our nature. We did this because we wanted peace, because we believed in something better. He paused. That time is over. They want war. We will give them war, not the civilized kind, not the kind with rules and honor, the human kind. He looked directly into the camera. Show them what we are. Show them why Earth warned the galaxy. Show them no mercy. Across the fleet, soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots ran final diagnostics. Ships powered up weapons that had never been used in combat, things that had only been tested in secret, things that the galaxy had thought were just myths and human exaggeration. The war had begun, and the galaxy would learn a terrible truth. Peace was not humanity's natural state. War was. The Second Armada was the pride of their empire. 150 warships, veterans of a dozen campaigns. They had crushed rebellions and enforced peace for centuries. War Prince had called for reinforcements after new. They had answered. Admiral commanded the armada. He was old and confident. He had fought inferior species before. The humans would be no different. He looked at the tactical display showing the human fleet approaching, 30 ships, against his 150. "They are fools," he said to his officers. "Prepare to engage. We will end this quickly." Captain stood on the bridge of the EDS. Around her ship, 29 other vessels held formation. They were outnumbered 5-1. The one who followed council rules, would have retreated, would have called for diplomatic solutions. That was gone. "All ships," she transmitted. "Attack pattern Berserker, no survivors." Her weapons officer looked up. "Captain, Berserker pattern violates 6 different council regulations. It is considered a war crime." "The council did not protect us," said coldly. "Their regulations mean nothing now. Execute the attack." The human ships accelerated, but not toward the fleet. They scattered in all directions, moving at speeds that should have torn them apart. They fired, but the humans were already gone, moving in patterns that made no sense, attacking from impossible angles. The first ship died without ever seeing what killed it. A human vessel appeared from behind it, fired a full spread of kinetic missiles at point-blank range, and vanished before the explosion even finished. Then another ship died, and another. Admiral watched his fleet burn. How are they moving like that? Those speeds should kill their crews. His science officer checked the readings. "Sir, the human ships are using dampeners beyond approved specifications, and their crews, they are using enhancement drugs, genetic modifications, things banned by the council." "All of them?" asked in shock. "All of them, sir. Every human in that fleet has been modified for combat, faster reactions, stronger bodies, higher pain tolerance. They are not natural anymore." The human ships were not just fast, they were aggressive, suicidal even. They took damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. They rammed enemy ships. They self-destructed near targets. They did things that no sane commander would allow. But they were winning. Watched another cruiser explode. Her ship had taken hits. Fire suppression teams worked to contain the damage. 3 of her crew were dead, 7 more wounded. She felt nothing. The combat drugs in her system kept her focused, clear, efficient. "Target their flagship," she ordered. "All remaining ships converge on my position." The human fleet came together like a pack of wolves surrounding prey. They hit Admiral's command ship from every direction at once. His shields failed. His weapons went offline. His crew panicked. Opened a communication channel, appeared on her screen. He looked terrified. "You have lost," said simply. "Withdraw your fleet or we will destroy every ship." Found his voice. "You cannot do this. The council will." "The council will do nothing," interrupted. "Just as they did nothing when you attacked our colonies. Withdraw now or die." Looked at his tactical display. He had lost 60 ships in less than an hour. The humans had lost 5. This was not a battle. It was a slaughter. He gave the order to retreat. The surviving ships fled, did not pursue. She had proven her point. She looked at her bridge crew, young faces, hard faces. They had become something different today, something the galaxy had never seen before. "Set course for the outer rim," she said. "We have more work to do." Far from the battle, Major Sara and her Wraith Corps team infiltrated a military station. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, silent, invisible, deadly. Wraith Corps was humanity's special operations unit. They did not exist officially. They were not on any roster. They were just stories that other militaries whispered about, stories that no one believed. Until now. Sora's team reached the command center. 12 officers worked at their stations. They did not see the humans enter, did not hear them. The first officer died with a knife in his throat. The second died from a broken neck. By the time the alarm sounded, it was too late. Sara stood over the station commander. He was on his knees, weapon gone, hope gone. She looked down at him without emotion. "This station has been sending kill orders to fleets targeting human colonies," she said. "No more." "Please," the commander begged. "I was following orders. This is not personal. This is just war." "No," Sora said quietly. "This is not just war. This is what happens when you attack humans. This is what we are when we stop pretending to be civilized." She pulled the trigger. The station went dark 30 seconds later. Explosives that her team had planted throughout the facility detonated. By the time anyone came to investigate, there was nothing left but wreckage, and a message painted on the wall in blood. "We warned you." The same thing happened across space. Military bases went silent, supply depots exploded, communication arrays stopped working. Wraith Corps teams struck from shadows and vanished like smoke. They could not find them, could not stop them, could not even prove they existed. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. High Magistrate looked older than ever. Around him, representatives from 1,000 species argued and shouted. Fear filled the chamber. "The humans have gone mad," Counselor yelled. "They are using banned weapons, genetic modifications, artificial intelligence. They are breaking every law we have." Other species murmured in agreement. They all agreed. Humanity must be stopped. Ambassador Park appeared via hologram. She did not wait to be recognized. Her image appeared at the center of the chamber, larger than life. "You ignored our warnings," she said. Her voice was cold, empty of emotion. "You dismissed our protests. You laughed when we asked for protection. You called our peace weakness." "You are using weapons that were banned for good reason," said. "You are committing atrocities." His expression did not change. "We are fighting a war we did not want, a war you forced upon us. You made the rules, High Magistrate. You created a system where only strength matters, where the powerful can prey on the weak, where justice is just a word." She leaned forward. "Well, now you see what human strength looks like. Now you understand that we held back not because we were weak, but because we chose to. That choice is over." Pointed an accusing finger. "Your species will be sanctioned, expelled from the council, made outcasts." "Do it," said simply. "We do not need your counsel. We do not need your approval. We needed your protection and you failed to provide it. So now we protect ourselves." "This is madness," said. "You are one species against the entire galaxy. 3 more civilizations have pledged support to the Empire. You are outnumbered 50 to 1. Smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Then they will learn the same lesson they are learning, that numbers do not matter, that technology does not matter, that the only thing that matters in war is the willingness to do whatever it takes to win." She paused. "We tried to warn you. We tried to show you that peace was better for everyone. You refused to listen. So now we will show you something else. We will show you what we really are. What humans have always been, underneath the civilization and diplomacy." "And what is that?" asked quietly. "Survivors," said, "at any cost." Her image vanished. The council erupted into chaos. Species declared war on humanity. Others declared neutrality. A few, the wise ones, stayed silent and watched. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Nam stood in the command center buried deep under the planet's surface. Holographic displays surrounded him. Each one showed a different battle, a different world, a different victory. The Third Fleet had attacked a human research station. They were wiped out in an hour. They had sent infiltrators to Earth itself. Wraith Corps found them in a day and left their bodies on the embassy steps. They kept sending fleets. They kept losing them. An aide approached. "Sir, we are receiving reports from the Outer Rim. The alliance against us is growing. They have committed nearly 2,000 ships to hunting down our forces." Nodded slowly. "How many ships do we have in reserve?" 3,000, sir, still in the cloud shipyards, hidden from sensors, ready to deploy." "Send them all," ordered. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The galaxy wants to see what humanity is capable of. Let us show them. The aide hesitated. Sir, if we deploy everything, there will be no holding back. No way to de-escalate. This becomes total war. Looked at the young officer. It became total war the moment the attack knew. Everything since then has just been us trying to make them understand. But they do not understand, so we will teach them. We will teach the entire galaxy. He activated the fleet-wide communication. His face appeared on every human ship, every station, every military installation across hundreds of light years. To all human forces, he said, for generations we wondered if we were alone in the universe. We hoped to find friends, partners, allies. Instead, we found predators who saw us as prey. We found empires that thought they could take what was ours. We found a council that valued order over justice. He paused. They have made their choice. Now we make ours. From this moment we are at total war, no restraints, no limitations, no mercy. We fight not just for victory but for survival. We fight to show the galaxy that humanity will not be conquered, will not be enslaved, will not be destroyed. His voice grew quieter but harder. Show them what we are, show them what they made us become, show them why Earth warned them, show them no mercy. Across human space, soldiers checked their weapons one final time. Pilots climbed into fighters. Ships powered up their engines. The full might of humanity, hidden for 50 years, prepared to be unleashed. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible lesson. That the most dangerous species was not the one with the biggest guns or the most ships. It was the one that had survived by being willing to do whatever it took to stay alive. It was the one that had evolved as the hunter, not the hunted. The war had truly begun. 6 months into the war, the galaxy burned. President Shin stood at the window of his office looking out at Earth. The planet seemed peaceful from orbit, blue and green and beautiful, but he knew the truth. Earth was a fortress now. Every city had defensive weapons. Every citizen was armed. Every child learned combat training in school. They had transformed themselves, become what they needed to be to survive. He turned as Admiral entered. The Admiral looked tired. They all looked tired. War did that, but they were winning. That was what mattered. Report said. Pulled up a holographic display. Star systems glowed in different colors. Blue for human-controlled, red for enemy, for neutral. The blue was spreading, slowly, steadily. "The is under blockade," said. "They cannot send supplies to their outer colonies. Their economy is collapsing. The fleets have withdrawn to defensive positions after we destroyed their forward bases. The alliance against us is fracturing." Casualties? Asked. Theirs or ours? Asked, then continued before the president could answer. "We have lost 43,000 personnel, 217 ships. 8 colonies have been damaged or destroyed. The enemy has lost." He paused. "Estimates suggest over 2 million dead, 6,000 ships, 27 worlds occupied." Felt the weight of those numbers. 2 million. Even if they were the enemy, they were still lives, still people with families and hopes and dreams. Are we becoming the monsters they say we are? Did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was careful. "We are becoming what we need to be to survive. Whether that makes us monsters is a question for historians. Right now, we are soldiers. We do our duty." Engineer Jinnah Bey entered without knocking. She never knocked anymore. No one did. Formality was a luxury they could not afford. She carried a data pad and looked excited in a way that worried. "It is ready," she said simply. Both men looked at her. "The Helios array?" asked. Jinnah nodded. "We have tested it on unmanned systems. It works. We can induce solar flares with precise targeting. We can turn any star into a weapon." Felt his stomach turn. A star as a weapon. The scale of destruction would be incomprehensible. How many casualties are we talking about? "Depends on the target," Jinnah said without emotion. A small solar flare could disable ships and satellites. A large one could sterilize a planet that has a stable star. We could make it unstable. Billions would die, said. Yes, Jinnah agreed, but it would end the war. No one would dare fight us again. Shook his head. We cannot use it on populated worlds. That crosses a line we cannot uncross. Then what do we use it on? Jinnah asked. Smiled grimly. They're military shipyards. They have a major construction facility in the system. No planets, just stations and factories. We hit them there. We show what we are capable of without mass civilian casualties. Considered it. It was still a terrible weapon, still something that would change the nature of warfare forever, but it was better than the alternative. Do it. But Jinnah, I want safeties on that system. I want multiple authorization protocols. I want it to be impossible to use without direct presidential approval. Already done, Jinnah said. I know what we are building. I know how it could be misused. She left and stood in silence for a moment. Finally, the president spoke. When did we become the kind of people who turn stars into weapons? When they gave us no choice, said. Across the galaxy, Captain led a task force not to attack it directly. That would come later if needed. For now, they were there to send a message. Her fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel just beyond the orbital defenses. Alarms rang across the planet. The defensive grid powered up, but made no aggressive moves. She simply broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain of the Earth Defense Ship. We are here to demonstrate why you should accept our terms for peace. On the planet below, War Prince watched from military command. He had survived barely. He had been promoted for his experience fighting humans. Now he commanded the defense. He did not feel honored. He felt terrified. 30 human ships, his sensor officer reported. They are holding position, not attacking. What are they waiting for? Muttered. He found out. The human fleet launched a single missile. Not at the planet, not at the defenses. It traveled away from the system, toward the asteroid belt. It detonated, and the asteroid belt moved. Or rather, part of it did. Hundreds of rocks began falling toward the planet, not naturally. They had been mined and hollowed out, filled with engines, turned into kinetic weapons. Simple, primitive, unstoppable. Defensive fire, ordered, shoot them down. The orbital platforms fired. They destroyed some asteroids, but there were too many. And for every one they destroyed, 2 more followed. The humans had been preparing this for months, quietly mining the belt, building their trap. Watched the defensive fire with satisfaction. Second wave, launch. More missiles, more asteroids. The defenses were overwhelmed. Some rocks got through. They struck the planet in unpopulated areas. Mountains, oceans, deserts, not cities, not yet, but the message was clear. We could hit your cities, we could kill billions. We are choosing not to, for now. Opened communications again. Your planet is defenseless. Your fleet is scattered. Your allies are abandoning you. Surrender, accept human terms, or the next rocks fall on your cities. She closed the channel. Below, emergency meetings were called. The government argued. The military demanded counterattack, but everyone knew the truth. They had lost. In the system, the Helios array was deployed. It was not a single weapon. It was a network of satellites placed around the system's star. Each satellite carried equipment designed by Jinnah, equipment that could manipulate stellar activity. Admiral watched from a command ship at a safe distance. The shipyards were massive. They could build 100 ships at a time. They had to be destroyed. But more importantly, the destruction had to be seen, had to be recorded, had to become a legend. Activate the array, he ordered. The satellites fired, not weapons, gravitational manipulation beams. They pulled at the star's surface, created instability. The star, which had burned steady for billions of years, suddenly became violent. A solar flare erupted. Massive beyond anything natural, it traveled across the system. The shipyards had minutes to react. Some ships fled, most did not make it. The flare hit like the hand of an angry god. Metal melted. Shields failed. Entire stations vaporized. When it was over, nothing remained. The largest military shipyard in space was gone, reduced to atoms, and the humans had done it by touching a star. The footage was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species watched. Every government received the message. Humanity could touch the stars themselves. No one was safe. Nowhere was beyond their reach. Coalition War Master watched the footage in his command chamber. He was a veteran of 100 campaigns. He had conquered a dozen worlds. He was not afraid of much, but he was afraid now. He pulled up casualty reports from the 6 months of war. His forces outnumbered the humans 50-1. They should be winning. They were not. For every human killed, 10 of his soldiers died. For every human ship destroyed, 5 of his were lost. How, he asked his analysts, how are they doing this? The head analyst was unnamed. He had studied human tactics for months. He looked exhausted. They fight differently than us, War Master. When we lose ships, we retreat and reorganize. When they lose ships, they fight harder. When we take casualties, our soldiers lose morale. When they take casualties, their soldiers become more vicious. That makes no sense, said. Any rational being would withdraw when losses become unsustainable. Humans are not rational, said quietly. Not in the way we understand it. They evolved on a death world. Everything on their planet tried to kill them. They survived by refusing to give up, by fighting when any sane species would surrender, by turning pain and loss into fuel for rage. Felt something cold settle in his chest. Are you saying we cannot beat them? I am saying that we cannot outlast them, replied. We have more ships, more soldiers, more resources, but they have something we do not. They have the willingness to sacrifice everything, to burn their own worlds rather than let us take them, to die to the last person rather than surrender. That is madness. Yes, agreed, but it is also strength, a strength we never developed because we never needed it. They did. Looked at the star charts, at the shrinking red zones, at the growing blue. If we cannot beat them, then what do? We sue for peace, said, before they decide that peace is no longer an option. In the Galactic Council chambers, High Magistrate called an emergency session. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Council was not in control. The galaxy was in chaos. The alliance against humanity was collapsing. Species that had been enemies were now united only in their fear of Earth. Ambassador Park appeared via hologram. She looked the same as always, calm, professional, but everyone in the chamber could feel the change in her. She was not asking for anything anymore. She was not pleading or negotiating. She was dictating terms. The Empire will surrender unconditionally, she said. All occupied human territories will be returned. Reparations will be paid. The Empire will be dissolved and reformed under human supervision. You cannot demand this, Counselor shouted. He was a shadow of his former self. His empire was burning. His people were starving under human blockade, but he still had pride. The Council will never accept. The Council has no say in this, interrupted. The Council failed in its duty to protect its members. The Council failed to enforce its own laws. The Council failed to prevent this war. You are irrelevant now. Spoke carefully. Ambassador Park, if humanity continues this course, you will make enemies of every species in the galaxy. You will be isolated, hated. Is that what you want? Looked at him for a long moment. We wanted peace, High Magistrate. We wanted friendship. We wanted to be part of your community. You refused us all of that. You treated us as inferior, as prey, as something to be exploited. She leaned forward. So no, we do not want to be isolated. We do not want to be hated. But if those are our only options, we will accept them. Because the alternative is to be conquered, to be destroyed. and that is not an option we will ever accept. You are speaking of genocide, said quietly. If you push too far, some species will choose extinction over surrender. Then they will choose extinction, said without hesitation. We did not start this war. We warned you it would end this way. You did not listen. That is not our fault. The chamber fell silent. Every representative understood now. Humanity was not bluffing, was not posturing. They would burn the entire galaxy if that was what it took to survive, and they had the weapons to do it. Stood slowly, he looked old, broken. The Empire accepts your terms. One by one, the other species in the Alliance did the same. The war was over. Humanity had won. But everyone knew the real war was just beginning. The war to determine what kind of peace would follow, and whether the galaxy could ever trust the species that had shown them what true warfare looked like. 6 months after the surrender, the galaxy looked different. Captain stood on the balcony of her new office on. She was a governor now, not by choice but by necessity. Someone had to rebuild what the war had destroyed. Someone had to ensure they did not try to rise again. That someone was her. Below, the capital city was slowly coming back to life. Food shipments from Earth arrived daily. Human engineers worked alongside workers to repair infrastructure. It was not occupation. At least that was what Earth called it: protection, supervision, ensuring peace. They called it something else, but they said it quietly. Aide entered, a young man named Minu. Governor, the council representatives are here for the meeting. Nodded and returned inside. 5 officials waited. They were the new government, carefully selected, approved by Earth. They represented a people who had learned a terrible lesson about the cost of pride. Governor, the lead counselor said. His name was, yes, he was related to the old counselor, a nephew, but he was young. He had spoken against the war. He had survived because of it. Counselor said, your reports show food distribution is improving. Infrastructure repair is ahead of schedule. Well done. We had help, said carefully, human help. Of course, replied. That was the agreement. We help you rebuild. You ensure it never happens again. And how long will this arrangement last? Another counselor asked. She was older, bitter. How long will humans occupy our world? Looked at her without anger. Until we are certain you can be trusted, until the galaxy is stable, until there is no chance of another war. She paused. I do not enjoy being here. I would rather be home with my family, but this is necessary. For how long? The woman pressed. As long as it takes. On Earth, President Shin faced different problems. The war was won, but the peace was fragile. He sat in a meeting with the Joint Chiefs, Admiral General Nam, Engineer Jinabe, Ambassador Park via hologram from the Galactic Council. Status report, said. Spoke first. Our forces are spread across 53 systems. We are stretched thin. They are cooperating, but they are causing problems. Small rebellions, attacks on human personnel. How many casualties? Asked. 12 dead in the last month. 30 wounded. We have responded with surgical strikes against rebel positions. Minimal civilian impact. And the galaxy's reaction? Answered from her hologram. Mixed. Some species are grateful we stopped others are terrified we will turn on them next. The Council is powerless. They want to appear relevant but have no enforcement capability without human support. Do we support them? Asked. That is the question, said. We can rule the galaxy through force, or we can try to build something better, something that actually works. Jenna leaned forward. The Helios array is operational in 17 systems now. We can control star activity across a quarter of the galaxy. That is power beyond anything ever achieved. The question is what we do with it. Silence fell over the room, looked at each of them. We are at a crossroads. We can become the oppressors, use our power to dominate, extract tribute, build an empire, or we can try to be something different. Different how? Asked. Better, said simply, we can enforce peace, real peace, not the Council's version where the strong prey on the weak, actual protection for all species, actual justice, using our power not to conquer but to prevent conquest. Frowned, that makes us the galaxy's police force, the galaxy's protector. That is a heavy burden. Yes, agreed, but it is better than becoming the next empire, better than being remembered as the species that burned the galaxy and ruled over ashes. Spoke carefully. If we do this, we need to establish legitimacy. We need to make the Council work, reform it, give it actual power, but power backed by our strength. You want us to prop up the same Council that failed us? Asked. No, said. I want us to create a new Council, one that actually serves its purpose. And yes, one that relies on human military force to enforce its decisions, but force used justly, force used to protect, not to exploit. Considered it. It was risky. It meant committing human resources across the galaxy indefinitely. It meant making enemies of those who preferred the old ways, but it also meant building something lasting, something worth the sacrifices they had made. Draft a proposal, he said. Present it to the Council, but make it clear. This is not a request. This is how things will be. At the Galactic Council, High Magistrate sat in his chamber alone. He was old, so very old. He had led the Council for thousands of years, had seen civilizations rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like humanity. Ambassador Park entered. She did not wait for permission. She carried a data pad and looked determined. High Magistrate, she said. Ambassador, he replied wearily, have you come to dictate more terms? I have come to propose a new structure, said. She placed the data pad on his desk. A reformed Galactic Council, one with actual power to prevent wars, one with the authority to intervene when species are threatened, one backed by a peacekeeping force. Looked at the document, a human peacekeeping force. Initially, yes, admitted. But over time, other species can contribute, can earn trust, can prove they share our commitment to actual peace rather than convenient peace. You are describing a military occupation of the galaxy. I am describing a guarantee of safety, corrected. We do not want your worlds. We do not want your resources. We want what we have always wanted, to live in peace, to trade freely, to explore the stars without fear of attack, by forcing everyone else to accept your protection. Met his eyes. By offering protection to everyone, including those who cannot protect themselves. The Council failed at that. We will not. Studied her. You truly believe this, that you can enforce peace across the galaxy, that you can be the guardians without becoming tyrants. I do not know, said honestly, but I know what happens if we do not try. More wars, more suffering, more species preying on each other while the Council does nothing. We have the power now. We can use it for destruction or construction. We choose construction. And if other species refuse, if they resist your protection, then they will learn the same lesson the learned, said. Her voice was hard now. That humanity does not bluff, does not threaten idly. When we say we will do something, we do it. Every time. Signed, you leave me little choice. You had a choice, replied, 50 years ago, when we asked for help and you gave us none. That choice led to this. Now you live with the consequences. She left, looked at the data pad, at the proposal for a new galactic order, an order enforced by the species that had evolved as predators, as survivors, as beings who would do anything to protect their own. He approved it. What else could he do? 3 months later, the new galactic charter was signed. Every major species attended. They signed not because they wanted to, but because refusal meant facing human wrath. The galaxy was now under human protection, whether they liked it or not. Major Sara and her Wraith Corps became the enforcement arm. They dealt with pirates, slavers, war criminals, rebels who thought they could challenge the new order. They were efficient, ruthless, effective, and they made sure everyone knew that human justice, while fair, was also final. Dr. Song published her research. The Predator's Piece became required reading at every military academy in the galaxy. It explained why humans were different, why they fought differently, why trying to challenge them was futile. It became the foundation for a new understanding between species. A year after the war ended, a new species made first contact with the galaxy. They were young, eager, excited to join the community of stars. They asked all the questions every new species asked. High Magistrate personally welcomed them and personally explained the new reality. The humans are the dominant military power, he said. They enforce the peace. They protect all member species, but they also expect obedience to the charter, respect for the rules, and commitment to peaceful resolution of conflicts. What if we disagree with the humans? The new species representative asked. Considered his answer carefully. Then I suggest you make your case rationally and with evidence. The humans listen. They are not unreasonable, but they are also not weak. They will not tolerate threats, will not accept challenges to the peace, will not allow any species to prey upon another. And if we refuse to join? That is your choice, said. But know that if you attack any council member, the humans will respond, and their response will be absolute. The new species signed the charter that day. On Earth, President Shin and Ambassador Park stood at a memorial. It was built on the site where the first attack had killed human colonists. It listed every name, every person who had died in the war, military and civilian, human and alien. Do you think we did the right thing? Asked. Was quiet for a moment. We gave them every chance. We followed their rules. We held back for 50 years. They chose this path, not us. But will there be another war? Looked at the stars above. Perhaps, but now they know the truth, that humanity does not want war, that we will do everything possible to avoid it, but that when forced to fight we will not lose. We cannot lose, because losing means extinction. That is a heavy burden, said. Yes, agreed. But it is ours to carry. We are the guardians now, whether we wanted to be or not. They stood in silence. The memorial bore an inscription in 100 languages, but the original was in Korean. We warned you. Below it, in smaller letters, another message. They did not listen. We proved them wrong. Now we ensure it never happens again. Not to us. Not to anyone. This is our promise. This is our burden. This is our peace. Above them, human ships patrolled. Below them, Earth continued to live. And across the galaxy, species that had once mocked humanity now lived under their protection. Safe, secure, peaceful. Because humanity had learned a lesson long ago. A lesson taught by their violent world and their violent history. That peace was not given. It was not natural. It was not guaranteed. Peace was a choice backed by the willingness to fight for it, to die for it, to do whatever it took to preserve it. The galaxy had learned that lesson the hard way, and they would never forget it, just as they would never forget the warning that humanity had given them. A warning they had ignored, a mistake they would never make again. The age of humanity had begun, not through conquest, not through oppression, but through a simple truth that no species had demonstrated before. That the strongest species was not the one that wanted war. It was the one that could end wars, permanently, completely, without mercy when necessary. That was humanity. That would always be humanity. And the galaxy would remember.